Your player development message matters more now than ever. With the new realities of college athletics, college football, college basketball, all the college sports, and players being paid by the schools because of the House versus NCAA settlement, a lot of universities have to find ways to find this money or to cut back in areas to get this money to the athletes. And it's a new reality. There's still a lot to learn about it. There's still a lot to find out about it. I'm finding out new stuff every single day. But one thing I have noticed, and even coming off the Player Development Summit and hearing even more talking to people, is one area that is being trimmed is the area of player development, athlete development, student athlete development, player engagement, whatever you want to call those people who impact the lives of athletes outside of their competition at the college level. They are being trimmed. And what you say, not only about yourself as a professional, but what your program does, your department does, and what you put out through content and other things like that matters more now than ever. And in this podcast, I'm gonna break down four ways you need to clarify your message, or four ways in which you can get the message out and get the truth of the impact that you make in the lives of athletes. Hello. Welcome to the Player Development Pod. I'm Ed Jones, the founder of Beyond the Field, where we develop people and elevate programs. And today I'm talking about something that is so important to me: player development messaging. How do we message what is happening? And the reason why I'm excited about this and passionate about this is because even at the Player Development Summit, I was on the mic, I was doing an opening session, I was talking to people about getting content out, getting their messaging out, making sure people know what they do. And I know that can be tough for a lot of people in this space, because a lot of people in this space just want to do the work and keep stuff off the coach's desk and everything like that. But the modesty can also be a hindrance, because every single other department is coming to the coach with numbers. I worked in football. The offensive coordinator is going to come with numbers. Defensive coordinator is going to come with numbers. Special teams coordinator is going to come with numbers. The strength coach is going to come with numbers, right? Those coaches are going to talk about how many yards, how many touchdowns, how efficient we are in the red zone, different things like that. Strength coach is going to talk about how guys are getting stronger and squat, bench, body mass, speed, whatever it is, right? The dietitian is going to come in and talk about the guys who've lost weight, gain weight, numbers, right? Sports med is going to talk about injury prevention and the people coming back from injury and the incredible things they do there in that department, right? Academics is going to talk about the GPA and how the GPA is rising and who's doing great things. The equipment is going to talk about all the great stuff that they're doing down there and how they're saving money and getting these things out, right? Fundraising is going to talk about how much money they've raised. I feel like I'm missing one group. But recruiting is going to talk about rankings and this guy's this star, right? And then I'm just speaking from experience. You get to player development. It's like, hey, these guys are maturing. No, we need to have the same exact message and the same exact quantitative impact numbers to bring to the coach. And we're going to talk about that today. I know a lot of you all are like, hey, they see what I'm doing. They understand what I'm doing. They do and they don't, right? At the end of the day, they don't. Because there's nothing on their desk. There's nothing that they've come to. There's no number that has been associated with impact. And it sucks, because I know a lot of you all are working hard. I know a lot of you all don't want to go and say this stuff. Like for me, I want to keep everything off the coach's desk. But if the coach doesn't know what's not on his desk, he doesn't know that things are happening. And so we're going to talk about that as message. I'm passionate about this, you all, because going back to what I said at the Player Development Summit, I asked how many people knew me prior to the Player Development Pod, prior to Beyond the Field really growing. And there were like 6 people. I said, how many of y'all know me from LinkedIn, right? And the whole room, rest of the room raised their hand. Messaging is important. Messaging is important. I got notes here so I get to it, because I can just talk about that all the time. I'm just passionate about this because I know cuts are happening. I know how important you all who are watching this are. And if you're an athletic director, if you're a president, if you're a head coach watching this, I want you to listen in and hear and think about how important these people are to you and what you do. Now, the first thing, there's 4 ways you can communicate clearly the impact that you make. Number 1, your introductory pitch. This is when you're talking to coaches. This is when you're talking to recruits. This is when you're talking to parents. This is when you're talking to staff members. This is when you're talking to boosters, people in the community, alumni. You need to have a pitch, right? You need to have a pitch. All this changed for me one time when I got to the University of Kansas. I already had like a program pitch for like what Beyond the Field did, right? And I'll talk about that here in the second bullet. But I was visiting my wife at work and I was telling, she was like, hey, this is my husband. He's director of player development for Kansas football. And the guy was like, oh, you're a babysitter. And I was like, no, I am not, right? And so I had to get back, and it kind of, that bothered me like it bothered anybody. I was like, no, actually I create impact in the lives of athletes. And it's like, okay, that's awesome, but what is that, right? So introductory pitch, and I got this from a book called Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley, and it's a really good book. He talks about an introductory pitch. Number one, solve a problem. Your pitch should talk about the problem, should talk about the problem you solve. Your pitch should talk about the problem you solve, right? Number two, your pitch should be grounded in reality. Grounded in reality, right? Number three, it should be aligned to your story. And number four, it should articulate a payoff. So I'm gonna use my story right now for introductory pitch. We'll break it down in parts. And if I'm able to remember all of it, I'll put it together. But I'm focused on you and not necessarily me. Number one, solve a problem. I noticed when I was in this role in 2016, there weren't a lot of resources for people in the player development role to create impact in the lives of athletes. Boom. So, and let me talk about the problem. So at Beyond the Field, we provide those resources to individuals so that they have a foundation of impact and how to impact the lives of athletes. All right, that solves the problem. Number two is grounded in reality. When I was in the role for 6 years, it was incredible. I learned a lot, but I always think about the first 18 months where I was scratching and clawing and figuring things out, and I had the relationships, but if I would have had the systems, I would have created so much impact. So my life's purpose in year 10 of player development is to help those who help athletes, because I know what it's like to be in the role and sometimes not know what to do. Grounded in reality. Number three, aligned to my story. My story, I've always wanted to impact people from when I was a kid till now. I was a high school coach. Before I got into player development for 6 years, I was a high school coach, and I was focused on helping these athletes do way more than just play football. Boom, part of my story, and articulate the payoff. I help those who need the resources or need the help in player development through three ways: content, consulting, and coaching. Boom. There it is. All right. So I'm going to try and put all that together. All right. That was a lot. So I'm going to try and do a quick pitch because introductory elevator pitch can't be 2.5 minutes. All right. So here we go. In 2016, I was director of player development at the University of Houston, and I realized, man, I want to make impact in these players' lives, but I did not know what to do. I spent 18 months trying to figure out what to do. Later on, I built Beyond the Field, and Beyond the Field has stretched out to be the primary resource for those in player development. What I did not have in 2016, I've been able to create for those who are in the role now. And that was something that was big for me, right? That first 18 months was, I look back at it, I built great relationships, but I wish I would have been able to have that foundation, because that foundation would have definitely created even more impact than I saw in the 6 years in the role, because my whole entire life has been based off generational impact. It's very important for me to impact the lives of others. And right now, Beyond the Field impacts those in the player development role by helping them set a foundation through courses, consulting, and coaching. Boom, there it is. That's introductory pitch. I think it was pretty long, so we're going to try and cut it down right now. I'm going to time myself. Okay, my phone's charging, so I'm going to time myself in my head to 15 to 30 seconds. Here we go. Boom. Hey, my name is Ed Jones. 2016, I was in the role. Didn't know what I was doing in the role. I was really wanted to help impact the lives of athletes. And so I said, I have to create something that will not only help me in the role, but will help others. And that first 18 months was crazy, right? I had the relationships, but if I would have had the systems that I created through Beyond the Field, I would have been able to do so much more. And I'm so glad I had it, because it helped propel the next 4.5 years I had in player development. And it was impactful for me because I've always wanted to impact the lives of others my entire life. And right now, Beyond the Field helps those find their player development foundation through courses, consulting, and coaching. Boom, introductory pitch, right? That's a lot. I got a lot to say, a lot I've done. I could even make that concise. But the best thing about it is there's the pitch. If you have time, people ask you, you have pitch, right? I talked about solving a problem. It was grounded in reality. It was aligned in my story, and it articulated a payoff, right? That's where it is. And so you can work on that. Like I said, what I'm gonna do after this is type all that up and use good old ChatGPT and say, hey, cut this down. Here are the 4 components I need. Cut this down to 2 or 3 sentences, whatever you need to do. But the most important part is you need to have an introductory pitch. Now I have one. Some of y'all may be listening like, bro, you just did it. Why do you need a pitch? I always try and make things more concise. The reason being why I want to even cut things even a more concise state is because people who eavesdrop remember things that are under 15 seconds. So say, hey, yeah, that's that guy over there. He said when he started, he didn't know what he's doing. And so he created Beyond the Field. And now he helps people in the role through courses, coaching, consulting, something like that. Boom. There it is. So I'm always working on that. But number 1, you need to have a introductory pitch. Number 2, the second thing you need are program details. Program details. You need a framework, right? And I got this from Donald Miller in his book, Story Brand. But the framework is there's a problem, there's a solution, here's the result. There's a problem, here's the solution, here's the result. There's a problem, here's a solution I provide or we provide as a department, here's the result. So at the University of Kansas, this is what I had, and I use it at the University of Houston and University of Kansas. And Lauren Hawkins, if you're watching this, you know this because you had to memorize it. Oftentimes, student athletes struggle with their identity in and outside the game of football. We've created a program that helps them identify their strengths in their personal wellness, community impact, and career development so that they can create generational impact in the lives of others. Boom, right? That was 3 parts, right? The problem. Oftentimes, student athletes struggle with their identity in and out of the game of football. That's the problem. The solution right here. We've created a program that helps them identify their strengths in 3 areas: personal wellness, community impact, and career development. And then here's the result. The result of this is they're able to create generational impact in their lives and the lives of others. Boom. So those program details there, right? The problem, the solution, and the result. Now you may say, okay, how different is this from the introductory pitch, right? Well, the way I see it, the introductory pitch is when people are asking me about myself, right? So when I'm meeting a coach, or, hey, for instance, I'll never forget, I was at Baylor and I just got there, an offensive line coach came in, he said, Ed, what is player development, right? So I would have used the program details there. Oftentimes student athletes, boom, boom. Some of you all know I would have used the definition of player development. Player development is the enhancement of the athlete experience through intentional and holistic programming and initiatives, right? But I would have used something there. Now, if someone walks in and says, hey, Ed, I love what you do. Tell me more about yourself. Boom, that's when the introductory pitch comes in, right? So the introductory pitch is you pitching yourself, right? And the program details is pitching what you do in player development in your department. So for me, the program details were known by everybody that worked in player development. Hope that makes sense, right? The first one, like I said, is the introductory pitch. The second one are the program details. Now, you've heard me mention a couple books, but I can't talk about books without this shameless plug, right? Of the player development guide. Yes, my first handheld book is here, or printed book, whatever you would love to call it. I'm gonna do a podcast episode on it here soon, but I want you all to get a copy of this. This book has all that stuff I told y'all about the first 18 months when I didn't know what I was doing, all the foundations you need. Part 1 is what is player development. Part 2 is the Beyond the Field program, breaking down everything I did in the role. And then part 3 is the secret sauce, right? The secret sauce. Well, those things that will help you get over the top. Here are a few things that we talk about in here: the benefits of player development, areas of player development, alumni relations, recent alumni plan, career development, community and career flow. This book, and it's a lot in here, right? I have even practical things in here, 3 ways to strengthen alumni engagement. So it's not just hey, this is what I think works. This is what I know works, and here you can have it as well. So you can get your copy here. Go in the show notes and click there. If you want the copy to come to you immediately, you can get it Amazon. If you want me to sign it, you can go to my website. But I can't talk about all these books that have helped me in my career in these pitch pitches without talking about the player development guide, I want you to get your copy today. And if you're interested in bulk orders, maybe you're an athletic director, a coach, someone that's working in player development, you want your whole department to get this, reach out to me. You can email me at info@btfprogram.com or edward@btfprogram.com, and we will get that to you. Really, really excited about this, you all. I can't wait. Y'all see it. You see it. Come on, placement. My marketing teacher, professor would be so excited. All right, so getting back to the 4 areas where you can clearly communicate your impact. We talked about the introductory pitch. We talked about program details. Number 3 is content. And when you post content, I see a lot of people posting content. I want you to think impact. And I want you to think impact in 3 areas. Number 1, yourself. Number 2, the athletes. And number 3, the reader, right? How did your content, whatever you went to, right? People post being at the combine, being here, this event, that event, whatever. How did it impact you? How did it impact the athletes? Or impact you to help out athletes, or will impact athletes? And number 3, how will it impact the reader? They want to get something from that, right? So when talking about how it impacted yourself, what did you learn? What did you learn? What was your experience? I see people, they'll go to the Super Bowl and be like, hey, I'm at the Super Bowl. Awesome. What did you learn there? What did you learn? Right? If it's specifically, and the number one, let me go back. The number one thing you should be posting on, number one platform, LinkedIn. I learned this from Will Baggett. Shout out to Will Baggett. LinkedIn is where you should be posting. I was told, it was at a time when I was told by a coach, I had 6 months left on the job. I was frustrated. I met Will. He came and randomly talked to us, and I was like kind of frustrated. And I was like, man, this dude cooking. So we ended up talking, and Will said, hey, man, like, where do you put all the stuff you do? I was like, oh, I put on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. He was like, that's cool, but the decision makers are on LinkedIn. Put all that stuff on LinkedIn. And ever since then, my career's changed incredibly. The connections I have are unreal. So you need to put it on LinkedIn. Let's go there. All right. Now, when you're talking about the impact, going back to what I said, for yourself, what did you learn? What did you experience, right? Hey, I was at the Super Bowl. I got to volunteer here. And what I noticed was interacting with athletes in this and the community, I realized how much community can come together and impact, and how many people, whatever it is, right? Talk about what you learned. Then after that, talk about how it will help your athletes. If the athletes are there, talk about how it impacted them. If they're not there, talk about how it will impact the athletes, right? You're talking about the impact that it had on you, and then you're talking about the impact that it will have on athletes. So you're talking about, if I'm reading your post, I saw how you got what you needed out of it. And then the second thing, I see how you're going to take this to your athletes, or how you notice it impact the athletes. And then the third impact you need to have is for the reader. What can they learn? What can they take away from that? If you're posting on LinkedIn and this athletic director sees what you're doing, how can this athletic director, what can they learn from it, right? How can they use this, right? How can they use this? How can they come back? If they learn from you, guess what? If people learn from you, people are going to do what? Come back. Thank you all who are subscribing. Thank you all who are subscribing. A lot of you all have learned from the Player Development Pod, and I'm thankful for that, because a lot of you all have come back. I want to teach you. If you know this podcast, I always talk about the impact it had on me, impact it had on the athletes, and the impact it can have on you. So when you're creating impact, specifically in the athlete development, player development space, you want to talk about the impact in 3 ways: yourself, the athletes, and for the reader. Now, this part right here is it's about to get a little real, right? It's about to get a little real, because when I was thinking about this and preparing for this podcast episode, I thought to myself, how many people in the role actually post? How many people in the role actually let people know where they're at, right? And I know, like I said, number one platform is LinkedIn, but we also did a study on Twitter and Instagram. And I'm about to pull up my computer, and we're about to get straight to the numbers, right? Because numbers are what matters, right? Numbers are what matters. Because in my view of it, I want to champion everybody to post more. And I feel like there's a lapse in posting, but shout out to Tasha Dotson, Dominic Ferrucci, Nicole Devlin, and Campbell Lead, because they all did the study. I didn't have enough time to do this, but they went through, I think it's I'll figure out the number. I'll show you. But it's over 100 people in player development at the Division I football level. And they went through and they scoured through and did all this homework on that. So I'm about to pull up my computer, and we are about to go over the homework and the numbers. And this is about to get real, right? And I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't think I will, but you just never know. But we got to get to the numbers. And if you're watching this, you have to post. So let me say less and go find this computer. If you've enjoyed this communication breakdown so far, you'll love the Player Development Accelerator. It's Beyond the Field's 4-week cohort, where one of these weeks we will spend 90 minutes communicating your value internally and externally. So if you're enjoying this episode and you want to dive deeper into player development messaging, into helping people understand why player development is important, then I want you to go into the show notes. I have an assessment there. It's called the Player Development Cohort Readiness Assessment. Click the link, take the assessment, and if you're prepared, you'll hear from me. Back to the show. All right, here we go. Here are the numbers. And I'm going to tell you the numbers that I had actually wrote them down. Here are the numbers I thought, the percentages I thought would be. Okay, perfect. I found it. All right, so we're going to go over the numbers. And there's 4 ways we're going to talk about this. So the first one we're going to talk about, I had them look at LinkedIn. Is the person in the role, do they have an updated LinkedIn? And the percentage I thought would have, or the percentage of professionals that I thought would have a updated LinkedIn was 63%. So we're going to go through here and we're going to find out how many actually had a LinkedIn. So overall, there it is. I was wrong. I said 63%. 79% of people working in player development in the college football level had an updated LinkedIn. So I was wrong there. It's 16% higher than what I thought it would be. So that is good. That is good. All right. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention how many player development professionals there are in college football. There's 158. There's 158. So 79% of them had an updated LinkedIn profile. All right. Now, the next one is how many of them have posted something they've done in the role on LinkedIn, that they have posted something they've done in the role on LinkedIn. And the percentage I thought of people who would post, I had 25%. So we're going to look at this right here. 23% have posted. I was correct. People who are in this role, you 158 professionals, you have to post on LinkedIn. Trust me. So 25%, I said 25%, it actually was 23%. That's crazy. That's crazy. But once again, they got to know what we're doing. This is not just about the professional. This is about everybody. This is about the student who wants to be in this role. We have to post. We have to get out our comfort zone and post. It's going to help this entire player development. If you care about athlete development, it's going to help push it to the next level. All right, here we go. Twitter updated. So basically their Twitter is updated and says that they're the director of player development where they're at. I put 75%. I feel like 75% would have it on Twitter, and it's higher than LinkedIn because Twitter is really what's used in recruiting. A lot of recruits use Twitter. A lot of coaches use Twitter. So I felt like that would be a higher number. So I said 75%. Whoa, I gave a little too much there. 54% of people in the role have a updated Twitter stating that they work at the at the school. So or in the role, excuse me. So that is that's interesting. I didn't expect that. And then Instagram, I put 71%. Now I know Instagram, a lot more people are more private on Instagram, so that could be a tough number that can mess with the number. But I had 71% of people that we could find would have it, and 44% have it. That to me is interesting to see, because I know when I worked in college football, Twitter and Instagram were our two big recruiting, and specifically Twitter. So I'm shocked at these low numbers, but that's kind of what I thought it would be. That's where I thought it would be, and this is why I'm doing this podcast right now. It's important. Y'all see the numbers. Y'all see it, right? So to me, we have to post. What we do is too important not to post, because when we don't post, when 23% of us have a LinkedIn post, and athletic directors and boosters and all that use LinkedIn, they don't know what's happening. They don't think it's important. They don't think it's needed. So we need to post. We need to post in Twitter, Instagram. We need to update people, let them know that we're in the role. I think we kind of need a combination of update and post. And this is just, wow, this is alarming. Sorry, y'all getting some raw, man. Like I legit had my notes and I was just gonna open the study. So this is, y'all getting real right now. This is honestly a little sad personally. Man. Because we may do a study on NFL and others as well. Man. Whew, that's I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. So that is sorry y'all, that caught me off guard. That is wow. Way lower than I thought. So we need to post. And this is why. This is why this is why I'm doing this episode right now. This is why player development messaging is more important now than it has ever been. Because people are getting removed. And it's easy for people to get removed when people aren't posting or people aren't active, aren't getting on the LinkedIns and the socials to show what they're doing. Socials are what perception is reality. That's what people think is happening, right? When people dive into player development, they want to see, oh, okay, cool, they did something, right? And they said if you post once a week, I think there's 1 billion people on LinkedIn, something like that I was listening to this week. If you post once a week, you're in the top 1%. Once a week. So we need to get that going. Wow. I might do a whole nother podcast off that. That's crazy. All right. So we talked about the 3 areas you have to communicate clearly. The fourth one is we talked about the 4. So introductory pitch, program details, content. The fourth one is your resume. Your resume. All these things I'm talking about right now are you communicating to people what you do. Your resume is important. And there's a guy named Jeff Sue who helped me when I had 8-month break after being let go at my last stop in Waco. And he transformed my resume because what I was doing was I was just taking the job description and just putting it underneath the role, right? But he kept saying they need to know what you've done, not what you're asked to do, but what you've done. And so he talked about metrics as well. And my big deal and my advice to you all, I'm not a resume expert by any means, but you need to have a number. You need to have a number on your resume showing impact. So I'll give you 2 examples and I'll actually read them here. But the first example I'll use is when I was at Baylor, I was in charge of class checking, right? And so you don't want to put on your resume like, hey, in charge of class checking, right? Maybe you do. I don't, right? So I'm like, but I made a big impact in changing our guys missing classes. So what I did was I did this super deep dive into math that I told my 11th grade teacher I'd never use again. Well, I used it. And so what I realized was instead of putting on my resume in charge of class checking or in charge of attendance, I found out that the system I created or the systems that I was part of or led helped decrease class absences by 58%. So instead of saying, hey, responsible for attendance, class checking, and things like that, I said created an accountability program that helped decrease class absences by 58%. Which one of those 2 sounds better? Yeah, decreasing class absences by 58%. Some of y'all about to hit me up and be like, hey, bro, how did you do that, right? But that number, if I'm applying for a job, a coach sees that and says, if we got players skipping, right? I don't, whatever university they skipping, right? And if you could decrease the skipping by 58%, that's huge, right? But that explained to them what I did. And instead of saying class checking, I put accountability system, right? Because it is an accountability system. And so you've got to put numbers. Instead of putting, I was the academic liaison, right? I'm the academic liaison for a football team. This is what I put on there. Collaborated with academic services as a liaison, resulting in the highest team semester GPA ever, 3.24, and highest fall semester GPA, 3.04. That sounds a lot better than I was the academic liaison, right? You need to get numbers in there. You need to get that wording in there that shows that you are a high level leader, right? This is another thing I put in here, right? At Baylor, the head coach came to me, he said, hey, we need to change our academic meetings. Our coaches aren't paying attention. They're on their phone and these different things. So what I did is I created a meeting where we basically got straight to it, right? Like, hey, let's talk about the guys doing it right, but we need to spend time on the ones that need help, right? And so this meeting was very, very successful. And this is what I have on my resume. Enhance academic meeting structure, increasing accountability, engagement. helping 28 all Big 12 academic team selections happen. Right? That's better than, hey, I changed the academic structure. Because of the structure, 28 of our players became all Big 12 academic team selections. 28, right? And so on our resume, we have to use these numbers. We have to say what we're doing. You got to dive deep. If you need to use ChatGPT, whatever you need to do, if you need to talk to somebody, do it. But you need to communicate who you are, what you can do, and how you are a high-level leader and a program impactor. Because all this stuff helps on the field. If I decrease classes by 58%, guess who's not in trouble? The players. Guess what coaches can do now? Focus on coaching instead of running around who's missing classes. If we got 28 all Big 12 selections, that's you got 120 guys. I'm not a mathematician. That's almost 30% of your team. 12, yeah. Right? So that are all academics. So that helps permeate what we're doing and help on the field, right? Highest team semester ever GPA. Once again, if they're going to class, they're getting a high GPA. We don't have to worry about this other stuff. Our academic meetings are shorter because people are doing what they need to do, meaning coaches can get to recruiting and coaching. It helps on the field. So you need to put on your resume how you are a high-level leader. Now, those are the four areas that that you can communicate your impact clearly. Once again, it's introductory pitch. And when you're doing your introductory pitch, you want to make sure you solve a problem, it's grounded in reality, it's aligned to your story, and you articulate the payoff. Number 2, program details. In that communication, you want to talk about the problem, the solution, and the result. Number 3, content. When you're talking about content, you want to talk about the impact for yourself, the athletes, and the reader. And then number 4, your resume, use numbers. Tell them the impact that you've created. Your message matters more now than ever. We talked about it in this episode. I got caught off guard emotionally, right? By the numbers because I'm so passionate about this space. I'm passionate about you. I'm passionate about the students that want to get in this role. I'm passionate about the professionals that want to transfer to this role. So we need to give our player development message to the masses. As I always say, go out and create generational impact. Don't wait, create that generational impact today and let them know the impact that you're making. I need y'all to do it.